Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello there. Welcome to another fresh edition of your program, Energy Focus on Money Radio. It's my pleasure to be hosting you on today's program. My name is Winifred Ugbebo, and of course, as usual on the program, we are going to be having an in-house analyst, and she is also the group business editor of Leadership newspaper, and she is Inse Anthony Uko. Inse, it's a pleasure to have you on today's program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure.
So, viewers, on this energy focus today, we are looking at uncertainty as DisCos. That is DisCos hint on 300 naira per kilowatt electricity tariff. Presently, there is uncertainty in the economy as with distribution companies set to increase electricity tariff from July 1st. It's still uncertain what to expect, although the DisCos, that is Abuja's AEDC, has said that not yet, it has not been formalized or decisions have not been taken. But however, they said they are meeting with stakeholders on the way forward. So, Inse, what is actually going to happen now? We are talking about fuel subsidy removal, and we are also now removing hiking electricity tariff. What is happening in the energy sector?
Yeah, before now, we have seen the energy sector highly subsidized.
Yes.
From the petrol subsidy that we were enjoying on petrol, and then a large portion of the electricity value chain was also subsidized by the federal government. And this is because though private investors were brought into the distribution and the generation network of electricity value chain, a lot of things that should have been put in place before the full privatization by the government were not put in place. And as such, because government continued to have a 40% equity stake in the distribution companies, we saw government continue to sink in so much money to stabilize the sector and to ensure that the distribution companies are stable enough and financially liquid enough to take over the full operations of the sector. But after over 8 years of privatization, that has not been. Even though the regulator of the sector has gone on ahead to bring on board a multi-year tariff order, which allows the distribution companies to, over time, increase tariff to be in line with the current realities, with expectation that they will be able to perform their own responsibilities within the agreement, the power privatization agreement. This has not been. So at the end of the day, we've had series of increases in tariff without commensurate improvements in the services being delivered.
Yes.
So this year, with the advent of a new administration, we have seen a lot of reforms. And this reform, primarily, we've seen it on the removal of fuel subsidy. And then we also saw the unification of Forex and a lot of things that Nigerians do, especially also in the electricity value chain, hinges a lot on the foreign exchange. And because of the unification of the foreign exchange, the exchange rate of the naira to the dollar has gone up. And the distribution companies are like, oh, we have to also increase our tariff to reflect this current reality. So that in a nutshell
is the current realities.
Yeah.
Now, it's always said that reform, yes, reform, nobody's against reform, but many people are always of the opinion that reform should be done with a human face. Now, considering the fact that fuel no longer has subsidy on it. The federal government is no longer taking care of it for the common Nigerians, so to speak. Because a few, as we speak, that is from NNPC's 537 naira to 1 liter. And now you want to also increase electricity. Would you think that, don't you think that the federal government has to consider the impact this will have on average Nigerian?
Of course, that has been the widespread outcry that we have seen, not just from the ordinary Nigerians. We have seen Labour standing up in full force against the planned increase in electricity tariff. We have seen manufacturers coming up to say, no, this cannot be done. We have seen civil society organizations coming out to say, no, it is not the right time to have an electricity increase. Agreed, you have it under the multi-year tariff order that reviews of the electricity tariff should be done twice a year, first in January and the second one in July. However, a lot of things have coincided at the same time. At the same time, such that if this is done, of course, like you have said, it wouldn't be done with a human face. And however, even as on one side that is being said, we also see on the other side the distribution companies are, how do we meet up with the current reality? But however, it's like many of the distribution companies have somehow gone ahead of themselves, because this tariff, the review in tariff should be authorized, should be approved by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. But we have not seen that. We are yet, the commission has not given any approval. And many of them, they ran ahead of themselves. We saw what happened this week. And but then the outcry is still very, very loud that it is not the right time, that this thing should be done, taking the masses and even the manufacturers.
I'm coming to that too. You know, you say that you want to have a robust economy, and that is having an industrialized nation. And we're talking about unification of foreign exchange. How will that come into play when even the SMEs and manufacturing, you want to tax them? How are they going to cope? At the end of the day, you are stifling all these taxes increase in tariff, especially in energy, we stifle the growth of these manufacturing companies. So how do you think that will impact their productivity?
We've even seen, in fact, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria came out to say that in 2022, they spent 144 billion naira in alternative electricity generation. Imagine what it would have been like if they had depended on electricity from the national grid, which is much cheaper. And now, if that happened in 2022, where some portion of the consumption was subsidized, what do you think will happen now that there is full subsidy removal, and then the sector is fully deregulated? So it means that they are going to spend more. And on the other hand, the little so-called they would have gotten from having the little time that they have power from the national grid, we are also seeing that they are going to be paying so much more if the planned increase is gone ahead with. Some of the experts, on people who have reviewed the MITO, have come up to say that if the current trend is followed, then per kilowatt of electricity can go as high as 300 naira. And you can imagine what this translates to. And before now, the highest that we had here in Abuja, the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, where we cooperate in, was 75 naira. And though the people in Lagos have said they had 66 naira before now, but just imagine the quantum of increase if that is increased from 66 to 300, and then from on this angle from 75, 76 to 300. How much what do you want to put into your production cost with that level of power, cost on power, on electricity, that you'll be able to get out something that and by at the end of the day, the all of this cost will be transferred to the end user, which is you and I, and the average Nigerian on the streets.
And inflation will continue to spiral out of control. Now, just before we go on a break, we are talking about increase, but we have a situation prior to this time that there were still some areas, especially talking about Abuja, that were softly increased. Their tariff has been increased, going up and down. I think I discussed it with you on previously on this program. So what about that?
You know what the distribution companies have been doing before now, because of that provision in the Electricity Act, then that the review of tariff twice a year. They just saw it as given. They did not. Most times they just do secretly do those tariff increase without informing the public that we are going to review our tariff and this is what it amounts to. And so more often than not, you see that by the time you just go, by the time you recharge again your unit,
you see that
it has increased. Even as we speak on this one, before the NEC came out, before they backtracked, we've not seen any formal announcement from NEC. We've just seen the distribution company increasing, giving a public notice about the planned increase, and then turning around to say, we didn't get approval. And so, but even at that, I have seen a number of people who said that they've already bought at an increased price. And so it's like the AEDC had gone ahead to effect this increase in tariff even without the approval of NEC. And so, which is their modus operandi in the past, where they would just go ahead, increase the tariff, and people just, go on with it because they feel there is no, their voice will not be heard if they cry out.
So let's go on a break. When we come back, we are going to be talking about these free market forces and how far the federal government will continue to just allow it to go the way it's going. Don't go away, just sit in.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Yes, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the program is Energy Focus on Money Radio. It reaches you on this frequency every Thursday, 2 p.m. And of course, with me in the studio, always to discuss the problem, the challenges in the sector, is the group business editor of leadership, Inse Anthony Oko. Thank you so much once again. And the topic for today's program is uncertainty as DisCos hit on 300 naira per kilowatt electricity tariff. Is an issue that's continued to generate controversy since the news broke by the AEDC, that is Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, that it was gearing up to increase its electricity tariff. Now, before we went on break, I was asking, now with this, we talk about the unification of foreign exchange and the floating of the naira and fuel subsidy removal and all whatnot. Now we are going to see electricity tariff. market forces. No, now with the federal government fold his hands and just allow the demands and supply to just go the way it's going without making an input.
You know, we are still seeing the watching the scenario unfold. In fact, 2 days ago, we saw the official importers and exporters window, which is considered the official exchange rate market, out growing, as in the rate of the naira falling beyond what we have on the parallel market, which is the open market, a situation which has never been. We have it went as high as 800 naira to the dollar.
Wow.
Meanwhile, on the parallel market, we were still having 750 something, 60 something.
Oh, yes,
and so for the first time, the official market was lower than what we had in the parallel market. Of course, the intention has been to unify the rate so as to take away the arbitrage. That's the difference between both markets that allowed some people who could access foreign exchange from the official market to access it from there and then take it outside to the black market to sell for their own good. That's round tripping on the currency, and that is what was driving the price in the open market. But now with this free float, like you have said, we are watching to see whether the federal government will actually fold its hand and allow the naira to be on the free flow, or to be fully determined by forces of demand and supply, especially where we don't have enough foreign exchange to be able to meet the demand, which means in those cases you will have the naira value so depreciated on that market.
Really
but so be it as it may, with the unification, it is meant that every other thing that is hinged on the foreign exchange, it means that the more it fluctuates, the value of the naira fluctuates, the more you would see prices of everything that is rising or falling, as the case may be. If we happen to have an appreciation, of the naira on the I and E window, the expectation is that prices should also come down. But we know this is Nigeria, and
nothing goes on.
In a situation where there's nobody to regulate or to monitor what is happening, are we going to have a situation where prices also go down? And even where we have prices fluctuating like that, it should be good, but it leaves a lot of uncertainty.
For instance, the oil marketers,
it leaves a lot of uncertainty.
Exactly. And the oil marketers have also hinted that a few may soon go as far as 700 naira per litre.
You know, the price of fuel
is in today's papers.
Is actually based on the price of crude oil in the international market, the level at which they are getting it into the country, and then the landing cost. And of course, you now add the in-country transportation to the different parts of the country. So all of this, it means that when oil price goes up in the international market, we are going to see this reflected all through the value chain. So that is exactly what we are saying, leaving the system to the forces of demand and supply, and then the attendant uncertainty, the instability that comes with it, which makes it rather difficult for people to plan with.
No, but now, just before we go, because the time is running out against us so fast. Now, the president, although many allege that President Muhammad Buhari, the immediate past president, was the one that signed the electricity bill into law, but it was actually done by this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What we're made to believe was that now states can actually be in control of generating their own electricity. what impact will it have on this electricity tariff?
Yeah, to set the record straight, we are looking at two different um, acts that are interrelated.
Okay.
The first one is amendment of the Constitution,
Yes.
allowing the generation distribution of electricity
By state government.
to be on the concurrent list, which means that the federal government can do it and the states can also participate. So that was what former President Muhammadu Buhari signed,
Okay.
the amendment of the Constitution.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what the current president has signed is the Electricity Act,
Okay.
which allows the Electricity Act, the act that governs the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, to align with the constitutional amendment,
Okay.
so that they can be able to formulate policies that will drive the constitution amendment, so
In
that
this
states
case,
so that states will be able to have will have the final details of what it entails for them to be able to generate and distribute electricity at their own level. However, this has been lauded as a very welcome development.
Okay.
Because before now, we had a situation where many states, some states, let me put it that way, we have Edo, we have Lagos, we have Akwa Ibom, and a few others. They already have power generating plants, but they still had to channel whatever is generated through the national grid, because they were not allowed by the Constitution to be able to have their own mechanism for distribution.
Okay.
And what we saw then was that a lot of areas that were generating power independently still had to depend on the national grid to supply them with electricity. And in many cases, we still saw that many of them still went without, because it is what was supplied to them that the DisCos that are responsible for their areas will distribute to them. However, the final details, the policies that on how it is going to play out, is still being formulated by NEC. But this, in a broader sense, is going to allow states to be able to generate and distribute power within their own areas, and then it will also allow them. It's going to actually it's a welcome development, and it's going to increase the level of power within the system. So everyone have lauded it as a really welcome development, and we hope to see much benefits come out from it, especially for the states that are
already have their
high power consuming states based on their levels of industrialization, like Lagos, for instance. Yeah, and Ogun.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Now, back to this impending electricity tariff. I just wanted to share, like, what will be the impact on Nigeria's economy?
What will be the impact? Of course,
should they go ahead?
With the prevailing situation, we have seen inflation is high, exchange rate has gone up, and these are some of the bases that the distribution companies always put forward when they are applying to NEC for a review of their tariff. In which case, it's already certain that there will be a review, an upward review in the electricity tariff. However, the level at which the increase will come is what is yet to be known. Because while the distribution companies will propose what they want to increase the tariff to based on their cost of production, their operational cost, it is still within the powers of the regulator, the NEC, yes, to approve certain level of increase for them. So we are just hoping that at this point
They
I
should
really,
backtrack on their
yeah,
decision.
they should consider the overall
Effect.
events of recent times, the hype in the increase in petrol and the attendant cost on transport, on cost of goods and services, and then what will happen with another increase. It's really going to be too much on people at the same time. And meanwhile, the former administration had talked about palliative, which did not see the light of day at the end of that administration. And then this administration had gone on to effect to remove fuel subsidy without the palliative on ground. So the appeal now is on neck that the increase should come. No doubt an increase is expected, but like
Not
you
now.
said, this is not the right time, and even if it to come, let it have a human face.
Yes, every reform must definitely have a human face. This is what it's the view of not only Issa, at least from many Nigerians. Well, that's a takeaway for today's program on Morning Radio Energy Sector. Next week is another date where we'll be here to bring you different topic. My name is Winifred Weber, and I look forward to seeing you same time, same station next week. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080 3688 61